Hey everyone, my name is Tess Finder and I am here to discuss the influences of motivation in the classroom. Now, before we get started, I wanted to ask you, what's the goal of yours? But specifically, what motivates you to accomplish such goal? Now, motivation is an innate desire that drives individuals to participate in an activity because of the satisfaction derived from it. Therefore, our goals because we want to do them for a reason. Now, this also strengthens relationships between students and their teachers. More specifically, because teachers take an interest in their students and their needs. Now, we have two specific types of motivation: intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Now, intrinsic motivation is determined by goals, values, or personal accomplishments that satisfy an internal reward upon completion. An example of this is earning a 4.0 or a perfect attendance score. You don't have to earn those things to graduate. That's a personal satisfaction. Now, most likely this reward is specifically of interest to the individual or group. If not, they won't be interested in accomplishing it. Oppositely, extrinsic motivation focuses on a tangible reward that follows the outcome of learning. Now, an example of this, earning a bachelor's degree, or a token reward system. We don't just go to school to go to school. At least I don't. I don't pay thousands of dollars just to have fun. I want to earn a degree. Just as students, they're earning rewards or tokens for having good behavior. They're wanting to earn something for doing something good. Now, this comes from B.F. Skinner's behavioralist theory of operant conditioning, now, which also moves into different types of extrinsic motivation. These are both positive and negative reinforcement strategies. Now, positive reinforcement strategies are the delivery of a reinforcer to increase appropriate behaviors. An example of this are edibles, such as earning a piece of candy for getting an answer right, or special privileges, such as being the first in line, or praise, such as, "Hey, Billy, thank you for keeping your hands to yourself today. I really appreciate it. You did a great job." This really targets the interests of the students, which means that you must be aware of your students and their needs. If not, this doesn't work. The reward event theory states that all positive motivation, primary and learned, is functionally dependent on reward events that can be directly activated by electrical stimulation within the brain. So there's literally research studies that show that there are neurons in our brain that are activated from these motivators. That's awesome. That's so interesting to me. Before diving too deeply into that, there are specific strategies that we've even discussed within our modules that are positive reinforcement strategies. One of these is behavior-specific praise, like I mentioned before. "Hey, Billy, great job today. I'm really proud of you." Or group contingencies, specifically interdependent, when the whole class earns a special reward when every individual in the group meets an established goal. These are types of positive reinforcement strategies. Now, the next slide gives a couple of examples of these, which I actually pulled from some of our discussions because I was very interested in them. Token economy is a very popular reward system that basically allows students to receive tokens as rewards for desired behaviors that are later then traded in for additional reinforcements. By doing this, it specifically targets individual behavior or positively acknowledges observable behavior or the influence of receiving an incentive. It provides a desire that wasn't initially present. Therefore, it's adding something in to influence students or motivate them to accomplish something. Now, oppositely, there are negative reinforcement strategies, which is the removal of an aversive event or condition. There are many negative connotations that come to this, so I want to make sure we hit on this. It aids in the encouragement of eliminating an unpleasant condition in response to a good behavior. Now, an example of this is to the left. You don't put on sunscreen, you get a sunburn. You put on sunscreen, you don't get a sunburn. However, negative reinforcement is very commonly misconstrued with punishment. Punishment is when students are subjected to repercussions of actions that have already been displayed. So, you hit one of your peers in the classroom, you have to go to the principal's office. Sorry, that's a punishment. Both are implemented to prevent the repetition of one unwelcome behavior from occurring in the future. However, this screen gives a couple examples of reasons why they're very adversely different, which is why I wanted to hit on their definitions. Positive reinforcement, example, you're getting something in return for doing something good. Token economy. Negative reinforcement, student gets to leave the class when their test is completed. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. However, if you don't finish your test, you don't get to leave. Positive punishment, example, decreases the probability that behavior will occur in the future as a result of giving the student something they deem unpleasant. So you're giving them something that they don't like. Oppositely, negative punishment is removing something that they actually like, so taking something away. So I just want to make sure we touched on those. Now, there are potential repercussions of these strategies. Now, an example of this, interdependent groups contingencies, where all students must complete something in order for a whole group to earn a reward. Now, if let's say for some scenario, there is one sole student that prevents the classroom from earning a reward. There is potential for negative peer influence, isolation, embarrassment, anger, resentment, all of those feelings to arise when that happens, specifically geared towards one individual. Now, this may introduce bullying, it may introduce all these factors that you must be able to recognize or potentially understand could be a possibility if influenced by the strategy you implement. Therefore, it's important to understand your students, how they act, what their needs are, and what could beneficial or what is best or beneficial to them specifically. If you don't think the whole class could accomplish this and this is a potential factor, maybe just put that contingency towards one individual instead of a group. Once again, understand your students because this may be counterintuitive as it can cause lack of motivation. Students won't want to come to school if they're getting bullied. Not saying it's your fault because you introduced a strategy, but it could be influenced. Therefore, it's important to recognize. Lastly, the role of educators is so important in just implementing motivational strategies. It supports students' choices and interest, and teachers help develop personal interest through these rewards. It involves students interacting with one another more and more and with their teachers. It helps establish a positive relationship and environment for students to learn in. Lastly, it creates relevancy through creative connections, and if you are introducing them enthusiastically through high energy levels with good classroom management strategies, your student engagement will fly through the roof. Your students will be motivated. It's just important to understand your students before implementing your strategies. Thanks, guys.